This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As we turn now to the forced starvation unfolding in Gaza, where malnourished children are overwhelming the remaining hospitals. Today, the Al-Ahli Arab Hospital in Gaza City announced the death of Palestinian child Abdul Qadir al-Fayumi from malnutrition, the 115th starvation-related death since Israel reimposed a siege on Gaza in March. Israeli attacks across Gaza killed at least 62 Palestinians Thursday, 19 of them while trying to collect food from militarized aid sites run by the shadowy U.S. Israeli-backed so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF. On Thursday, displaced Palestinian women in Rafah were directed by GHF to a women-only distribution section where they were attacked with tear gas and pepper spray. For more, we're going to Oxford in England, to Professor Nick Maynard, a consultant surgeon at Oxford University Hospitals who just returned Wednesday after volunteering for 4 weeks at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, south of Gaza City. He's volunteered in Gaza several times. His recent piece for The Guardian is headlined, "I'm witnessing the deliberate starvation of Gaza's children. Why is the world letting it happen?" Welcome back to Democracy Now! You've said that on some days you would see multiple patients injured in the same body parts. For example, gunshot wounds to the groin. Can you explain what you're saying?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me back. One of the big differences on this most recent spell in Gaza compared to previous trips during this war has been the huge number of gunshot wounds I've had to treat, and specifically gunshot wounds in young teenage boys who have been shot at the food distribution centres, the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Fund. The boys are aged from anything from 11 to 15, 16. They are going there to get food for their starving families. And the narrative, the stories I'm getting from their families, from some of the victims, and indeed from my Gazan healthcare colleagues who have been to these food distribution sites, is very much the same from all of them. They are going to get food. It is chaos. There is rioting there, and they are being shot by Israeli soldiers and by the quadcopter drones, which are all over Gaza at the moment. And even more disturbing from that, there is a very clear pattern that the emergency doctors in the ER have recognised, and indeed the surgeons like me have recognised, that there is a cluster of injuries to particular body parts on particular days. So, for example, one day most of them will be coming in with gunshot wounds to the head and neck. Another day there'll be gunshot wounds to the chest. Another day to the abdomen, and even to the 12 days ago, we had 4 young teenage boys, all of whom were admitted with gunshot wounds to the testicles. And the clustering, the pattern we're seeing is very striking. And it would appear to us that there's almost like target practice, playing some sort of game, that we're going to go for the head today, the abdomen tomorrow, the testicles the day after that. Truly, truly shocking.
In your piece, you describe a 7-month-old infant saying, quote, "The phrase skin and bones doesn't do justice." Describe what you're seeing.
Yeah, so I spent quite a bit of time in the paediatric unit. I'm an adult surgeon, but I was operating on children as well. And I had one 11-year-old girl who was on the paediatric intensive care unit, who I was seeing several times a day. So I spent quite a bit of time on the paediatric unit, and I went to the neonatal unit and saw the most awful examples of malnutrition, the like of which I could not have imagined existed in this world. Little 7-month-old who looked newborn babies at times. They were all grossly underweight. There was no nutrition to feed them. There was virtually no formula feed to feed these newborn babies or these infants. And indeed, there'd been no formula feed allowed into Gaza since the last ceasefire for several months. And some American doctors I know who I was working with tried to bring formula feed into Gaza, and all the cartons of formula feed were confiscated by the Israeli border guards, and very specifically confiscating the formula feed. Nothing else, just taking out every single carton of formula feed. So these small children, these newborns, these toddlers, these other children on intensive care were all starving. There was not enough feed to allow them to heal properly.
Dr. Maynard, you write, every day I watch patients deteriorate and die, not from their injuries, but because they're too malnourished to survive surgery. Can you describe this?
Yes, this was particularly in the, I mean, most of the patients I operate on were adults. They come in, most of them come in very malnourished anyway, and they come in with severe injuries, explosive injuries from bombs, with severe shrapnel damage to their abdomen or their chest, or gunshot wounds. And they're very serious injuries that require major surgery to deal with them. But they are injuries and surgery which, in normal circumstances, they would be expected to survive. But because they're so malnourished, their tissues don't heal. Their immune systems are suppressed. The internal repairs we carry out to the liver, the pancreas, the duodenum, the stomach, the bowel, they don't heal properly. They often end up breaking down, causing terrible infections inside the body, and frequently these patients die. So the mortality rate from these injuries is much higher than one would otherwise expect. And there is no nutrition in the hospital to give the adults. There's no intravenous nutrition. There's virtually no liquid enteral nutrition to go into feeding tubes. They are totally reliant upon their families bringing in feed, and many of them are starving themselves, so can't get any feed to bring into their relatives.
Professor Nick Maynard, will end with your headline, why is the world letting it happen? You've come back to Britain. France has just said that they're going to recognize Palestine as a state, putting enormous pressure on Britain to do the same. What you feel needs to be done?
Well, to be honest, we need more than words. Our Prime Minister in the UK, our Foreign Secretary, have certainly come out with stronger words in recent weeks, but there have been no actions, and we need more than words. They are worthless without actions. We need as much aid and food to go in as possible. We need a ceasefire, and our government and the US governments need to force the Israeli government to stop this.
Professor Nick Maynard, consulting surgeon at Oxford University Hospitals in Oxford. He returned Wednesday after volunteering for 4 weeks at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. We'll link to your piece on witnessing the deliberate starvation of Gaza's children. Why is the world letting it happen? Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.